Hello, and welcome to the Lucidus podcast, where I explore everything because I believe everything is connected to everything else, and also because I believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. I'm actually turned on the camera today, even though I just woke up and I don't feel like being seen. So my hoodie, my fabulous hoodie from doing my archaeology, my volunteer archaeology for the state that I live in. What I want to talk about today is I want to pick up a little bit where I left off on the last one. I don't feel like I did a good job where I talked about being right versus being heard, held, and honored in a conversation. Afterwards, I was like, I didn't show that very well. I'm hoping though that they got the gist of it. But I want to touch on it again because I've more and more I'm having these wonderful, just like impromptu conversations with people, might be anywhere, just anywhere. They're just kind of popping up, and it's allowing me to really experience what happens. And I have to say there is some I'm not sure what the feeling is in me. Is I was going to say shame, I was going to say disappointment, a little bit. Neither of those is quite right. It's more nuanced than either of those. A little sheepish, maybe ashamed instead of like shame. It's like this seems like this big word, like a. It's not even ashamed. It's a little ashamed and sheepish. Like dang, like it's almost like when you see something and you kind of wish it wasn't true because then you have to also look at your responsibility in it. So just my more and more my ability to I'm not even consciously approach your difficult conversations, but even when they're just there, when I'm just there and it's like, oh, we're going to have a moment, this is kind of a sticky moment with this person or this situation or this, and it's just happening. And I can remain open. Or I choose to remain open. I can remain open. I don't really know. I think sometimes we don't have a lot of choice because our nervous system has hijacked us. And so we have to work with our nervous system. So what I wanted to say about the right versus being heard, held, and honored is it's okay. This is one of the things I've seen. It's okay that in the beginning, we're not able to hear the other side first. Meaning, I have so much appreciation for my therapist, this most recent one I've had for about 5 or 6 months. She has been incredible. And I asked her for this. I was like, conversations, communication, connection, like these are my things. This is my gig right now. So I told her, like, you and I need to have hard conversations. Like, we literally kind of need to have conflict in this relationship so that I can practice it in here. And yes, it's kind of staged, right? Because because it's her job to sit there and work on this with me. But at the same time, it's been so important for me to be able to have a place. And it's been fortunate that little things have come up. She was a little bit sloppy with scheduling at the beginning. And I was like, hey, like, I'm not okay with this. I'm showing up every week and I can't, and she was like, you're right. Like, I am not showing up in the same way you're showing up. You're right. I'm showing up as most other clients show up, which is far more laissez-faire and wishy-washy. And no, I'm going to meet you where you are. So it started off, so they don't have to be big things, right? But even that conversation at the time was super scary for me because I've had incidents in the past where when you kind of tell someone like, hey, like, you're not really showing up, all kinds of shit, as we all know, all kinds of shit can happen. And she's been so great at just being like, thinking about it, give me a minute. Okay, I got you there. But at the same time, giving me, a different perspectives, feedback, blah, 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 blah. So it hasn't been one-sided, but what it has been was I have always gotten to go first. So in a way it's staged, right? It's staged. And why is that important? Or why was that important for me? My nervous system. It's all about the nervous system. I want to tell everybody now, I just want to put out like a shirt. It's all about the nervous system. If your nervous system isn't on board or online with what you're doing, then it's all a bunch of mental exercise. And that's fine and that can be helpful, but not really. It's not lasting. I mean, if your nervous system isn't online and participating and open and engaged and sort of like aware, it's a mental exercise and it's temporary. I feel like it's temporary. So why is this staging with my therapist? Why has this been important? Because when I got to go first and we got to talk about how I felt, and she got to see her part in it and talk about that, my nervous system came online. Because I would say it wasn't really online when I started, because I'm so afraid to even talk to people about any kind of conflict because I have no idea what's going to happen on the other side. My experience has not been this. And with all of my therapists, she is like 10,000 leagues better than every single one of them at this specific things. So what my EMDR therapist, she was fabulous at EMDR. She was not so great at conversation, communication, and connection. This person, when I went to her and I said, I need conversation, communication, connection, it just so happened this is her forte. I mean, I just feel like I got so lucky. So anyway, so I show up and I need to have what to me is a difficult, scary, challenging conversation. To other people, they might not even blink an eye, but we have that. And then once we have that, and I realize she heard me, she held me, she honored what I had to say, she took responsibility for her part. Then my nervous system is like, oh, this is integrity. We trust this person. We trust this place. We're online, and now we can participate more fully. And then there was a chance for her to share, because I wanted to know, like, what was your experience of my delivery, or certain ways I said things, or how could I maybe have said this differently? Not that I could say it any better than I said it in that moment, but reflection for, okay, the next time, how might I better approach this or say this or express that or da 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 da. So then I was in a place where I could listen to her. So these past months have been staged in that way where I've always gotten to go first. And it's been so important because it's allowed me to have conversations with my nervous system online. And I would say most of my life I've had conversations, even if even if I was able to sort of act the part on the outside, my nervous system was not online. It was not engaged. It's like I had turned off the light, and then we had the conversation in the dark, and then it was over, and then I could turn on the light, and be like, oh my God, da, 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 da. So it wasn't translating to change. I wasn't actually changing my nervous system. I was just sort of pretending, which just gets me to the quote we're going to get to in not so long. I don't know. Maybe this is really irritating to stare at this light over here. I'm not sure how much I care. So whatever. Just don't look. But okay, so this staged. So it's been very important for me with this therapist to somewhat stage our conversations. Like they weren't staged conversations, but they were staged in that I always got to go first. And I can feel that that's slowly starting to, I can feel myself saying, maybe you could let her go first. Like you could listen first, and you could be the one that can hear and hold and honor first. Not that I haven't been doing that, but I have been doing that second. And that does matter. That does matter. I do think there's an additional sort of stability in the person that can listen first, that there and trust in the relationship, the stability in yourself to listen first, and also the trust that I know the person is going to listen to me when I'm done listening to them. And I do know that, obviously, about my therapist has to, right? She's paid to do that, but she would do it anyway. She's just that kind of person. And I've realized that over the months. So where I'm at, this is really interesting. So she has had a big shift in her life with her private life, and she's going to step away from the completely step away from the workforce for a while. And just, I was so devastated. I was just like, man, like, she's been so great. I mean, she has been my all-time favorite. She's just so good. And it was interesting because there were times where I would go to those gnarly, nasty, just difficult, messy, mucky places in myself where other therapists would shy away, look away, shut it down, just like can't handle whatever. And she would just, and I'd even say it. I'd say like, I feel like a monster right now. And like, I don't even like in me, there's just so much like pain and confusion and just all this stuff. And she was always just look at me and say, I'm fine. It was so beautiful because she'd say, this moment is worth 10 smooth sessions. Like this is it. And it was almost like she'd encouraged me to stay. Like, I'm here and you stay as long as you need to in this place as this person in this moment, like whatever. Like this is priceless and this is better than 10. I mean, she would just always say that. And I'd be like, I can actually be who I am. I can actually be who I am. And it's the craziest thing. Isn't that what we all ask for? I'm just so disappointed that I don't get to work more with her. She's taught me so, so, so much. And it's hard for me, it's been hard for me to wrap my head around, having faith that this is for the best, because of course I want to say, this isn't supposed to be happening. You're you're supposed to, work with me for years now. I mean, you've taught me so much in just a few months. And it was funny because I did tell her, I just said, I just have to scratch my head at this whole, like, we manifest everything. And she just said, well, I don't know about the either. I don't think you manifested my leaving the workforce. She said, I'd like to think I chose that for myself. Anyway, it's just, who knows? Who knows? So anyway, so I only have one more session with her, and I've moving on to a different therapist, whole new clinic, everything. And why is that interesting to me? It's interesting to me because each time I've moved, so it's on. I guess I've been, throughout my whole life, I've had a few therapists. I haven't done a lot of this traditional therapy. Um, it's it hasn't been super helpful. Strangely, I think maybe just all the other stuff I did, all the meditation, all the ayahuasca, just all the other stuff I've done, um, all the ancestral learning and wisdom and healing work. That's been huge. It's almost like it primed the pump, so to speak, and now the pump is ready to work. And so it's actually been incredibly beneficial. Last, just been a little over a year. So this will be my third therapist. And it's funny because both of the other two stepped away from the workforce. And I'm like, I don't know, I should maybe warn this. They were both female, and this one's going to be male, which is also interesting. Um, that's a shift. It's been a long, long, long time since I've had a male therapist. But maybe I should warn him and say, just so you know, in about 5 or 6 months, you might be stepping away from the workforce. That tends to be the way things are going for me. So, um, but it's interesting because with each of them, I showed up as a very different person and had very different objectives, very different needs, blah, blah, blah. And and looking back, I'm so grateful that the one stepped away because I didn't feel ready to step away from her either. But when I did, and I showed up with the new one, I realized I actually was in a completely new place and I needed to work on completely new things. So I have one more week before I start with this new one, and I wonder who I'm going to start as. Like, I wonder what I'm going to bring to this person. And I assume, and I'm a firm believer in energy. I'm a firm believer that, we already have it scheduled, that he and I, our energies have already connected. They probably, they already were anyway, but they've definitely connected now. And we're energetically probably having conversations or communication, some kind of communication happening that where what is it that I need and what is it that he has that would be the best synergy for us to work on. And so I'm curious to see when I show up what I say. The first session I pretty much just do the same thing. I just say, okay, I'm literally going to say kind of what's super present for me right now and just try to download that into you. And then we'll start there. So I have no idea. I do think it's interesting. It'll be with a man. Maybe a lot of, not just, there's been a lot of sort of communication going on with my current therapist, but just like more in general, I wonder if that communication will be, if that piece will just become a little more stylized, meaning communicating with men or in more intimate relationships. We'll see. Okay, so what am I getting at? The about right about the time when my therapist let me know that she was going to be stepping away, I came across a quote that I found many, many years ago. I can't even say that he's a Swedish poet. I think he won the Nobel Prize for poetry. He won a big prize for literature. I'm not quite, I can't remember, but Tomas Transformer, and it sounds like Transformer, I know, but it's, anyway, Tomas Transtromer. I'll have to figure that out. I'm sorry, Tomas. But if you put in the quote, this will come up. And the quote is, I walk slowly into myself through a forest of empty suits of armor. I walk slowly into myself through a forest of empty suits of armor. I found this, I bet like 15 years ago, long, long time ago. And it was during my phase where everything was heron. Herons were everywhere. I mean, I wasn't even married at the time, and my ex-husband shows up and hands me this like big metal sculpture that's a heron. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is this? Just herons everywhere. Herons. And that went on for, oh my God, years. And if you know anything about herons, of course, they're like these beautiful, graceful, still as hell patient, you know, so always alone, as isolated creatures, whatever. And I was looking up herons on the web one day, and this image popped up, and it was of this beautiful heron, and it had this quote: "I walk slowly into myself through a forest of empty suits of armor." Downloaded that image onto my phone. I've been looking at it forever. And then when I came at, so I was going through my phone to find this. I was like, oh, I know there's that quote, something about, suits, empty suits of armor, empty suits of armor. And I found it, and it had the heron on it. And I was like, oh, the quote still resonates with me, but the heron is no longer sort of like the the animal that's leading me. I really don't actually know what my animal is right now. I think it might still be the octopus, but whatever. So so I so this quote. So I write this quote down. I actually made a new background image for it. I was like, I need that quote, but it needs to be a different background image. And I actually tried to get AI to help me. I was like, could you, and there's some really bad AIs out there. And like one of them literally made like these, like those, those shooting targets that are humans, people shoot arrows at. They're kind of just like these stuffed, one of the AIs literally like made like 4 or 5 of those. They were different colored. And I was like, what the hell is those aren't even armor. Like they're it's just it was the funniest thing. Anyway, in this day and age, you're like, okay. But what I was looking for, I'm getting there. I swear I'm getting somewhere today. You can tell it's Saturday. I'm just blabbling. I'm blabbling. I'm a blabbling brook. Okay, so as I'm trying to get, it was good because as I was trying to describe to different AIs the image I would like behind the quote. I was in my body trying to energetically feel it. And I'm getting back to the therapist, I promise. This all is related. As all things are. Okay, so I'm trying to describe to the AI. And I said, it's like I'm walking from darkness to light. And the forest are these suits of armor. And the older ones, some of them are already rusted and falling apart, falling down, and then as I walk, they become a little newer. is that they're not all metal. Some of them are wood. Some of them could be like brick tiles or ceramic tiles. And one of them might be glass, like thick, like hard to see through glass. There could also be armor that's really thin, shiny, fragile glass. There's also some of the armor could be, textiles could be like a thick fabric, like a big robe, or there was a time where I felt like if I could just wear this big, like this, basically like this big, huge, heavy, dark robe, so that I was like unidentifiable, and I could just sort of hide inside of what was happening. And so, and I talked about, some of them are going to have these horrible, like, it'd be impossible to get in and out of, like big, huge metal, hinges and rivets and just all that kind of stuff, where others might easily zip and unzip. And I said, and they tend to go from bigger, heavier, thicker. The older ones are bigger, heavier, thicker, sturdier, mightier armor. And then as I'm walking forward toward the light, they are becoming less and less. That's where they become more textiles and glass or other such things. One of them needs to be, of course, mirrors, so that no one, there have been times where I'm like, I don't want anyone to see me. But at the same time, I want everybody to take a really good look at themselves. That was I still love that armor. There's still days I want to walk around and say, you know what, I just be a mirror right now if I could, so you all could see yourselves and I wouldn't have to see me. And I wouldn't have to see you. But whatever. Definitely. Mirror. Anyway, so it was interesting to me to describe it. No AI. I think I tried 3 different ones. None of them even came close to getting anything from. I was like, y'all are idiots. Like, seriously, this is not that hard. But no, it didn't. And I don't know, right? Like, apparently I don't have the right grammar. I don't speak AI yet. Okay, so that's not the point. It was so good for me though to put that down in words, so I began to understand my journey. I walked slowly into myself. I walked slowly, 15 years at least, maybe 20. I walked slowly into myself through a forest of empty suits of armor. And I described that journey for myself and where I am. And I got to energetically feel how armored I used to be. And I got to understand all the armor that I've dropped along the way. Part of that success has been I am mindful about who I'm with, who I spend time with, um, who I trust, who I share with, which is interesting because I put all of this out there, right? Anybody can see this. But, and you can say whatever you want about it. You don't have access to me. Who do I give people access to me? So part of that has happened because of the work I've done, and part of that work is being very mindful about the people and places that I choose to go and be with. And that's been interesting because, the rape ended in October. November and December were kind of a sort of like, just letting sort of like that soupy mess settle. I would say we threw it out. And then January has been a complete recalibration. So many things have changed in January that I never saw, including this. But here we are in January, and some people and things are falling away that I didn't expect, that I don't yet believe. I don't understand. I'm trying very hard to trust myself. And I think that's where I would really like to work with this new, now that I'm saying it, it's where I'd like to work with this new therapist is knowing that I've had traumatic experiences. We all have this, I have this inner barometer, I call it. I have this inner barometer, which I have this beautiful old barometer hanging on my wall that was I think it was my grandfather's. I think my mother told me it was my grandfather's or it was, anyway, this old, beautiful barometer. I have this barometer inside of me, and it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. But sometimes maybe I don't know if it overreacts or if my nervous system hijacks it or if I misinterpret it. But sometimes it is responding, or I'm interpreting from a space of trauma, and not a space of listening. And I would like to become more attuned to that and understand my this inner barometer better and follow it. It's going to be, I feel like it's going to be very, very important in me creating the relationships that, may see me through to the end of my life. And I have not had lasting relationships. I had a good 10 or 15 years where I had these great relationships when I was raising my kids. We had this beautiful community. And that was wonderful. I would say that the thing that held us together were raising our kids together. Because as soon as that happened, one, I got divorced, but still, that was the glue that held us together. It wasn't actually the sort of the friendships. I would like to create friendships that the friendship in and of itself is the glue, and that it can see me through many decades, if not the rest of my life. That's asking a lot. That's not nothing. I mean, I'm basically asking someone to show up for the rest of their life, for the rest of my life, through all that could happen in either of our lives. That is not nothing. That is not nothing. And I want to, for some reason, I want to stress that, and maybe it's for me, maybe it's for other people too. We think that friendship should just somehow happen. And I'm just pausing because I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know, I've never thought about this, but it's like the Friends show. Like it just happens. I don't and I didn't, I think maybe I saw 2 or 3 episodes of the Friends show, so I'm not trying to diss on the Friends show. I don't know it. But I wonder if we think life should be like the Friends show, and maybe it's not. Maybe what we should have seen were what was going on behind the scenes of the Friends show. That's the Friends show. That's the real show. That's the show that we're all living. So, all right. So the suits of armor, the therapist, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. This is how it all wraps in together. As I begin with this new therapist, I feel like he and I will have even harder conversations because one, he's male, and I think that will bring things up. And two, because I feel like I'm ready to have the harder conversations. I'm ready to hear. Maybe, I don't know if I'm there yet, but with time, I could see me building enough trust where I listen first, that I listen and have this ability in myself to hear. But that's just the first part. When you listen first, the second part, equally important. I can see myself kind of getting through the first part and then shutting down. And then they're like, okay, it's your turn to speak. And I'll be like, no, I don't have anything to say. Right? Like, that's total bullshit. Of course, I have something to say, but that's me shutting down. So for me to listen, hear what they need to hear, take my responsibility, and stay online and open. My nervous system is still online. That will be the trick. I think We might have to try a few times because my nervous system might shut down and be like, we're done. That was too much. We don't have anything to say. We're not talking. We're done. So it'll be interesting. We might have to like break it. I don't know, but we'll see. But I would like to be able to listen first one day. One day. Listen first. Hear, hold here, honor. And stay online and then speak, knowing that they will then hear, hold, and honor me. I also feel like this whole thing about the suits of armor, that in order to do this next step with this new therapist, I will leave a suit of armor with my last therapist. And that is not nothing. I try to, and I say this for me, but I also say this for you. It's not nothing to take off a suit of armor and set it down and know that whatever strength was in that armor is now somewhere inside. And to believe that is not nothing. To not really believe it but hope it is not nothing. To doubt it considerably and still do it because you feel like maybe you hope it's the right thing is not nothing. Meaning, when I think about taking off the armor that I walked, 6 months ago when I walked into this therapist's office, whatever armor I was wearing, when I think about leaving it there and walking away, there's a flutter. And I just think, oh, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? Did I really build that strength inside of me now? And I no longer need this armor. And I think really that's the whole journey. More and more, I feel like the journey is the avocado. To put all the wonderful, juicy fleshiness on the outside and to have that kernel on the inside that it's unbreakable. And yet breaks open in the right conditions. So just a lot of change. This morning when I thought about the podcast, I was like, I don't really have anything to say. And I thought, I remembered my goal, which my goal was to share my journey. And that was my kind of the directive I felt. Like, share your journey. Just share your journey. Share the journey along the way so that people can see it in progress, a journey in progress. Like, what does a journey in progress look like? Instead of just arriving somewhere and being like, I arrived here. And it's like, okay, well, how did you get there? Well, I'll tell you. I can water down and, whatever. And it's like, well, it'd be really helpful if I had, the real life, moment to moment, or at least I kind of feel like I'm dropping stepping stones, like, or breadcrumbs, whatever. So I thought, well, I'll just do a podcast and just share I just can just share where I'm at. This is where I'm at. This is what's happening. And again, not because, and maybe this is a great way to end it, not because it's right, not because what I'm doing is right, but because I have found when I hear and hold and honor another person's journey, I understand it so well. I understand it so well, and it doesn't matter that the outer trappings look different. So many of our journeys have resonance with each other, even though they may look very different. So I just share all this, one, in the hopes of helping all of us communicate more healthily, more clearly, more with more care, more just to really care for each other, to care for ourselves and each other. And also to consider, the suits of armor that you've taken off over the years that you no longer need. Just a moment to reflect on that. Like, wow, I don't wear that anymore. I don't need that anymore. Are there other suits of armor that maybe I'm ready to, and with great honor and respect for the armors that we've worn, am I ready to remove it and set it aside and walk more deeply into myself? And just also honoring all the people in our lives that give us a chance to do the impossible, which is understand ourselves and another person. I mean, I just think that's damn near impossible. I mean, understanding myself, good luck. Understanding someone else, impossible. So, but we are all here together, and we are all giving each other a chance to do the impossible. Maybe I'll call that the impossible. Do the impossible. People think like, oh, what's the impossible? Yeah, try understanding yourself and someone else. That's what I think is impossible. So we'll see where this journey goes, how it goes with my new therapist, and we'll see how it goes with me removing more armor, walking more deeply into myself, and my book's coming along. I'm getting ready to put out another chapter. It's a nice, big, long, chunky one. It's taken me a long time to write. How long? 2020. 2020. I wrote this chapter the first time in 2020. I remember going up a canyon here, up into the mountains, and with my kids and I was so excited to read the chapter. This was like in 2020. I was so excited to read this chapter to them. We had made a big fire, and I read it to them, and they were like, and I would say the chapter at that time was probably maybe 2 pages. It was very long. I don't, maybe it was 3. And I think about it now, and it was just it's really sweet that they're like, Mom, that is a great start. We just have a few questions. And so I think about it now, and I'm like, that was like the best thing they could have possibly have said because it was a great start, and there were a lot of holes. And so I have filled in a lot of holes in this chapter, a lot of holes in the story, because I still don't understand the depth and breadth of the story, but it continues to amaze me. I'm super excited about this story because it is incredible. Incredible. Now, whether I can write it well, we'll see. So, but anyway, more chapters coming out with the story, and more stories and sharing about my life. And let's just hope that let's hope that well, I don't know what to say other than we're willing to stand up for humanity in the world we live in. So Take care of yourselves.